Okay. Welcome to a special segment of the African American Network, that's TAAN TV, where we have a local feel with a global reach. I'm your host, Dr. Lawrence Scott, and we have a special treat for all you who have tuned in. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing my dear friend. He's a mentor and a community leader. We have Mr. Blaise Labbe today. All right. So again, welcome to this special segment that we're going to be talking to Blaise. And again, Blaise, thank you for joining us today. You're currently the group news director of Sinclair Broadcasting. Can you tell us what compelled you to write this book, Power of Forgiveness, at this time?
Well, the idea of writing the book came about a long time ago. A good friend of mine, we were just talking, and I shared the story with her, but never really had the impetus until now. And really, what probably motivated me the most was really looking deeply and seeing how everything kind of came together and really seeing God's influence in making the story come full circle. And so I was like, I was able to conceptualize and put it down in the words.
Well, again, if you haven't read the book, this is your time. Definitely get the book. It is a great read. It's a little bit of a tearjerker, but it is also a great read. So, what better time than to do it now? Now, you grew up in a predominantly black section called Fightingville, right? Uh,
Right.
Sense of pride, and everyone looked out for each other. How has that shaped your understanding of community, or your mission as someone who was able to persist beyond the obstacles?
I think for me, it was really cool because I grew up, I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana, but the little section that we lived in is still today is called Fightonville. It was a little rough section of town. But, the fact that everyone in our community, our doctors were black, the milkman was black, the grocery store guy, who owned the grocery store, they were black. And so I saw business people, I saw doctors, I saw, cab drivers, all the leaders. So they became semi mentors, even though I was too young to really be mentored by them. But I saw them in leadership positions. I saw them doing things. I saw them moving the needle. Um, and that community was one that people talk about where everyone knew each other. And, as a kid, man, don't get in trouble because Miss Bernice down the street, she'll spank your butt. And then you come home and your mom and dad's going to spank your butt too. So it was very close knit. The fact that people, we didn't have a lot. And so people shared. It was a sense of a true community.
Yeah, throughout the book, there's elements of community and everybody coming in and stepping in, even when there were some absences. You did mention of the concept of not having a dad grow up. You did have a strong stepdad dynamic, but you mentioned an Uncle Tony. As
Yeah.
Talk about Uncle Tony for us. The reason I wanted to bring this up real quickly is, CDC had a study that it gets misquoted all the time, that 71% of black kids are growing up in single parent homes, when in fact they didn't account for stepfathers or father figures in the home, but just not married to the mom.
Right.
So in fact, in the same study, the black fathers were actually more participatory in feeding, bathing, putting on diapers, dressing, playing with, reading to their children, all these things. They were more participatory. So to that point, how important is it for young men to have either active fathers or those father figures growing up? And what are some lessons you can give to men of all races who don't have those examples at home?
I I say it's very important because though from age, from when I was born till I was 5, I didn't have a true father in my life. But my uncle Tony was that father figure. And he really truly growing up, that was my hero. He was they went to him and my mom, they went to an all black high school, and so he was the drum major. And if you know anything about black high schools and the band, I mean, and to be the drum major, you was the man.
Oh yeah,
And
I worked at Sam Houston High School here in San
yeah,
Antonio, so I
yeah.
know.
So he was the man. And then he went to the army. He got out. He became a community activist. Um, he taught me a lot about leadership. He taught me a lot about standing up for what's right, your principles. So a lot of the foundation of who I am was laid by him. And so I think it's important that as men, as much as we can get out and mentor, whether it's our kids or other kids, I think it's important because they need to see leadership. I always talk about. I grew up in a 3-room, not bedroom, but a 3-room shotgun home in Lafayette, Louisiana. And if you would have asked back then that I would be doing what I'm doing today, even hey, did you write a book? There would have been no way I would have said, but the fact that I had my Uncle Tony, and I was able to see those other people who had jobs, who were leaders in the community, I think was very important. And not just, they were black men. That's where I really wanted to go, was they were strong black men.
Right, and you mentioned there was that uh, the concept of activism as well, and I noticed that you talked about me and you have some parallels. I actually too wanted to be a civil rights attorney. I wanted to
Yeah.
be an attorney, uh, but my reasons were a little more dubious than yours. but uh, but obviously, obviously you're not an attorney, but you're still advocating for underrepresented groups and people like you and people who have shared experiences of all races, but shared experiences like you. Can you talk about what that means to you and how people can lead and advocate whatever their position is?
Yeah. I wanted to be a defense attorney. I saw things I mentioned in the book, how my uncle was a community activist. And when I was 4, I saw the police come and unjustly arrest him for, being out there and leading protests for civil rights. And in my capacity over time, I really realized, look, as a journalist, one of the tenements is to give a voice to the voiceless. And so it was instilled in me early on that we have a megaphone to utilize to be a part of the community and be a mouthpiece for those who can't speak for themselves. And so community activism is truly important, and it doesn't matter if it's the African American community, the Hispanic community, uh, white community. Being involved in your community and looking for those shared voices leads to shared ideas, which leads to overall a better dynamic and a better community for everyone.
Absolutely, and something that we probably both also shared is the understanding of colorism. I know colorism has been an issue that has, you even wrote a whole chapter, the paper bag chapter, and talking about racism in your book. What are some of the lessons that the reader can learn, or we can learn from your book about overcoming the sin of racism?
I, the biggest thing is, I think, is to understand, one, that it's there. And what really happens is that we allow that ugliness of racism to force a reaction from us. And what I hope the book shows is that, you know, you are in control of your own destiny. So how you react is important. and not to buy in or to feed into it. Again, I was blessed with great mentors who kept me focused on me. And so being black did not, I never utilized it as a crutch that I can't do or this is hindering me. And it's not that I didn't have a hard time or have to overcome hurdles. It was, what is your end goal? And if whatever it is, stay focused and true to that. Um, Racism is something, for me, I had to deal with it in my own family. Uh, and, not understanding all of it till the end or later in life, and how destructive it is. I mean, uh, my father committed suicide because of racism, and it wasn't that it was another group of people, i.e., white people. It was our own family that caused this to happen, and so that's a tough pill to swallow. But trying not to dwell on that and staying focused to who I am and then what I can do to make a difference in people's lives. That's what's a motivation for me, but it should be motivation for someone else, is not to get caught up in what racism is about, but how do we focus on eradicating it, um, and keeping people safe, because I think now is a point in time where it could be dangerous.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now you talked about your father, and that part of the story was really gripping. Uh, the concept of identity and mental health was interwoven throughout the book, and as it relates to your family situation, your racial identity, uh, to the point that you even had adopted self-destructive behaviors and even became suicidal. What would you say to someone watching or listening that have reached their lowest of lows and they just need to effectively heal? What would you say to them?
I think the first part is to understand and recognize when signs happen. And it's not like people don't know, um, whether it's with themselves or someone else. Um, you got to be realistic and you have to be honest. Um, and if it's you and you're going through something, seek help. Um, be open and talk about it. Discuss what's going on. I will say this: we're in a society where um, we find excuses, we find ways to, and mental health has become one of those where we just say it, whether it's true or not, to get by with something. And I'm very leery about that, because you're adding to a stereotype or a stigma, and people won't reach out for help. They won't discuss things. And the other thing too is if you see someone, don't be shy about reaching out. I look back and I talk a little bit about it in the book. I wonder with my father if someone would have recognized, because it was a very destructive pattern,
Mm.
especially the day that he did commit suicide. I had a very intimate conversation with my godfather, who was there from the morning he got up till it happened. And that was one of his regrets, was not reaching out or helping. So before you get to the point that that my sister got to, where there is destructive behavior, reach out and really look for help. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a bad person. We all go through depression, but when depression grips you, you have to get help.
Yeah, and I noticed even in our community, there is a stigma, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, that's a form of weakness. You getting help or you getting therapy, and can you talk to us about overcoming that stigma, and then also if there's elements of even bullying. I know you've been involved in a lot of bullying, um, abatement with the news and David's Law, and really promoting anti-bullying on your TV stations. Can you talk about that element as well?
I think, you know, when it comes to those kind of things, again, recognizing what's happening and not being afraid to discuss it is always a first step. The second step really is a coalition or building a support network for you or for the person that this is happening to. Because the one thing that you find when you become that depressed, you fall into a rabbit's hole. You're the only person that's going through this. Nobody will understand. Well, chances are somebody else has felt the same way you felt. So having that support network where you can have open dialogue to discuss those things, I think is a benefit to anyone.
Absolutely, absolutely. And talking about expanding your network, we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about how you got into television. And I found a story kind of funny where you were. It always starts with a woman, right? You're dating a woman, you want to pick her up, and then that, and she worked at a TV station. And so, speaking to your 19-year-old self, what would you tell this young man who was asked to work at a television station, about to pick a young lady up on a date? And even though your initial passion was becoming an attorney, what would you tell that 19-year-old man?
Um, to understand what opportunity you were just given. I didn't realize um, what had happened. Um, there's a incident that happened later after I got the job in television with my mother. I'll share that in just a second. But if I had to go back, I would have really wanted that 19-year-old to understand you were given, it was a blessing. And it was an opportunity of a lifetime that door opened for you. Um, and it took me a while to understand that. The story I share is I was inducted last year into the Oklahoma Journalism Hall of Fame, and I shared this story, and it's true. I had been working at the TV station for a year, and they hired someone and asked me to train him, and I found out that he was making more money than me. And back then, I was Malcolm X, boy. I was like, oh no, they ain't treat me like this. That's some crazy. Man, I quit. I'm done. And so it was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I went and my mother. I lived, believe it or not, a mile from the TV station. It was like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. She goes, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I quit." She goes, "You quit?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "What you mean you quit?" And I said, "Man," I told her the story. I've trained this dude for years, making more money than me. She goes, "Well, what are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I'm going to go work for the city. I'll find a job." And she said, "That's the point." She said, "You have not realized you can always find a job, but not a career.
Mm,
That television station is a career."
mm.
She goes, "You got two choices. You can take your self down there and you can go and apologize, or I will beat your ass
Yeah.
and then walk you down to the TV station and I'll make you apologize in front of them with me." And so obviously I took the first choice and I went and apologized myself and got the
Well, let me tell you that apology propelled you to a lot of different promotional situations, and we're going to talk about that on the other side of the break. We're going to take a short break, and again, we're here at the African American Network, TAAN TV. We have a local feel with a global reach. We'll be right back. Okay, we are right back with the author, Blaise Labbe, The Blessings of Forgiveness, The Healing Journey of Blaise Labbe. It is right there on Amazon.com. He is a renowned community leader. He's a mentor to many, but we have him here as an author, and we're very excited to delve into a story a little bit. So, talking about positions, I want to touch a little bit on um, the news director, Jan Stratton, who helped develop you. Why is it so? Why was she so important to the development of you in the news and how you lead your stations today? Right, to tell accurate stories, to solve problems, stay solution focused and community focused.
Yeah. Jan, it was a ironic thing. I actually went to high school with her youngest son, and so she would come to the school to do career day. So I had known Jan for since I was 14, obviously playing high school football with her son, and so coming up. So when I got the job, she became more than just my boss. She was like a mother. She gave me advice. She coached me. She mentored me, and helped me develop relationship skills as far as how to deal with people. But from a professional standpoint, she really focused on the community. She understood as a television station. Um, it was important for us to tell those stories that were relevant and important to the people in the community. She was very focused and very community minded, and so that helped set the stage for me as far as the importance of ensuring that we were always, or that any station that I was at or involved in or ran, that the community always came first. And for us, whether it's myself or the anchors, that we were fully engaged and involved in the community. So she was a big influence on me. There's two other people I always like to note, and that's a gentleman by the name of John Jenkins. He was assistant news director a long time with NBC, and he was something else. But he taught me to have pride in myself and pride in my work. And really, he helped me define my character, professionally. And then Paula Madison Walker, or Paula Walker Madison, sorry, who wrote the foreword to my book. Paula was a longtime broadcaster. Was a vice president within NBC. Um, she taught me about conviction as far as this business goes. To stand up for what is right, and to fight for people. And those were valuable lessons for me watching her when she was a news director, and then later on as a general manager, how she conducted her news operations, to be a big part of the community, but really focused on holding people accountable and being an advocate for the folks in the community.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, again, your career has spanned from photojournalism, weatherman, reporter, station director, now area director. Um, so I want to find out as far as identity is concerned, and you've had some setbacks. Um, you know, even through your setbacks, you were able to increase your impact. I mean, you were kicked out of the house. You even struggled with your identity with your family, but in all that, you still was able, to make an impact. Can you talk to us about how that you were able to overcome a lot of those struggles, those even identity struggles? You did have good mentors, but on those low days, how did you overcome the identity struggles?
A lot of crying. I go back to, um, I was just blessed to have good people in my life at a very young age that believed in me, and that helped keep me grounded to the point that I could always trust in the advice that was given. And I would lean on that a lot of times, and never to give up. I I use this as an example. You and I have been part of the PAM outreach, and and when we go to talk to the kids, I always talk about when I was a young boy, I was 5 years old. The first time I saw a Corvette, and I really wanted that Corvette. I just thought it was the craziest thing. You know, Years later, guess what? I got a Corvette. Years later, I now can say I've owned six of them.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
that it's not about the Corvette. It's about the core value of staying focused on the things that you want, and then always keeping that in mind and striving for your end goal. I think all too many times we lose focus on that because we get caught up in whatever the situation is. The situations, again, you can only control your reaction, not others. And so by staying focused, you're controlling your reaction to certain issues.
Absolutely, absolutely, and yes, we did meet in the PAM Media Outreach, Urban. Well, it used to be called Urban Teen Summit, formerly known as
Right,
Urban
right.
Mentor Program, and talk about an opportunity to really reach students all around Texas now. So great program, and I'm thankful that we were able to go on those Saturdays and mentor those students all those years.
Yeah,
Who know? And then who would have known it? Years later, we'd be doing this together, huh? But God knew. God knew.
yeah.
And to that point, and you mentor kids all around San Antonio and the greater Texas community, and at a time now where students really need mentors. I mean, they're watching the news and they're seeing, uh, you know, uh, everything on the news of just us being unhinged or our nation falling apart. What part can the news play and the role that you play in leadership play to help bring opportunities of hope and unity at a time where students really need to see us coming together?
When you look at how far this country's gone, or come, is what I really want to say, it was not just one group of people that have pushed this country forward. And so, um, when we start learning about our history in this country, um, you know, I always talk about, I hear the word patriot thrown around a lot. The first true patriot was an African American man by the name of Benjamin Banneker, who, not Benjamin Banneker, I'm sorry. Benjamin Banneker was an architect who designed Washington, D.C. But the first person killed in the Revolutionary War was an African American who's a true patriot.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
Christmas addicts.
Christopher Athens,
Yeah,
yes,
Christmas addicts.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I was just reading something about Benjamin Banneker. That's why
yeah, yeah. I know. Yeah, I
it
know.
popped in my head. But anyways, to that point, when you stop and you look, we talk about the real McCoy. There was a man by the name of Elijah McCoy who built the first steam engines that propelled locomotives, which propelled the economic revolution of the 19th century. Um, Actually, moving into the 20th century. So there's there's a lot that has been built by all of us in this country. So if we have that understanding, it makes it easier to understand that we can be as powerful as we want to be, and make this world a better place for all of us if we embrace the diversity and what everyone brings to the table. I'm very happy. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of tired of it because my wife loves the movie so much. She's watched it probably 100 times. But you think about Hidden Figures. You
Mm.
know, the fact that we had 3 African American women who were instrumental in the space program. Um, it's phenomenal the contributions that we've all put. You know, part of the reason we ended World War II was we had the code talkers who were Native Americans who broke the German codes that were going out. So there's been contributions from every walks of life from Americans, not of any race or color, just Americans. So unity starts with recognizing that we all have a place and that we all are contributors to what has made this nation great.
Yes, and I got to tell you, we're running to my final question here. Your book is a game changer, and one of the things I see, woven in is, how to take all your experiences and you know, lead, essentially lead to heal others, right?
Right.
Hurt people, but healed people heal people. And so I see that this book is definitely going to be a game changer. It's healing people, but I know your why. But can you describe to the listeners in this final question, to help them understand, why does this book, Power of Forgiveness, help people? You mentioned God throughout. Help people to trust in God. How did God play a role in your why for this book?
Because we're always looking and trying to fix something. And if we understand that He is the creator of all things, and understand that the good and the bad is orchestrated by Him. So in the end, He's there and He wants us to look to Him. The answers will come by Him, maybe not on our time, but definitely on His time. And that's a testament that I have because, again, when I started to write this book, it took on a different shape than where it ended up, but it was really about seeing Him and understanding that we have to give everything to Him, and He will show us what we need to know, and He will be the one that will do the healing. But we have to trust that.
Outstanding, outstanding. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have group news director for Sinclair Broadcasting, and author of Power of Forgiveness, Mr. Blaise Labbe. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, you can get your copy, The Blessings of Forgiveness, The Healing Journey of Blaise Labbe, on Amazon.com, BarnesandNobles.com, and what are some other places they can get it?
Uh,
And where do you
it's
think
pretty
there's
much out there everywhere. Right?
everywhere, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Google Books, but do you have anything coming up that we can go support or anything like that? Any book readings or anything like that?
Yeah, nothing in the very near future, but as soon as I get something out, I'll let you guys know.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, Mr. Blaise Bay, thank you very much for your time. And again, you are tuning into the African American Network, TAAN TV, where we have a local feel with a global reach. I'm Dr. Lawrence Scott, and we just interviewed Mr. Blaise Bay. Thank you very much. You all have a great day. Make a difference. Make a
Thanks
difference.
for having me.